Today is May 29th, 2020, and I will be going over the battle system for my RPG game. Now, originally I had a whole hour of footage of me coding this live and commentating over it, but I did not want to edit that into a 10-minute video, so I am just going to commentate after the fact like I did with dialogue. So here's a simple fight sequence. Melee does a decent chunk of damage. Fire does a little more, and heal, if you notice the health bar, it heals you. So let's finish this battle real quick. Alright, I finished the battle. Now I'm going to do this little quest here to talk to Jim. Now when I talk to Jim, and I go back to this guy, it will give me this powerful water spell. So I go back into battle, and there's a water spell. It's supposed to heal and attack you, so let's test it out. And it works as promised. Great. Alright, here's the code. This is a simple health bar. It is for displaying the health of the enemies. It's a library I downloaded from Unity Asset Store. I store the enemy's health and the player's health in these variables. This keeps track of turns, and then these are the elements of the canvas. So in the start method, first I set everything to what they should be, and I disable or enable the elements of the canvas based on what should be showing at the time. And I check if a save file exists, and if it does, then I will get the list of moves that the player knows from the save file. Now I don't set a default list of moves here in case there is no save file, and the reason for that is because I already set it in the game class. See here, I check if there is a save file, but if there isn't, I already have a default here, which is melee, fire, and heal. And the reason I set it here in the game class and not in the fight controller is because when you load the game, you shouldn't be in a fight immediately, right away. On a new game, right, you shouldn't immediately be in a fight, you should be in the overworld. So there really is no point to instantiating it here, because by the time you're in a fight, you will already have been in the overworld, which means the game class would already, or the script would have already run, and you would already have moves in your move list. Now the exception would be if I'm testing and I'm just playing from the fight scene directly, but I already have a save file for that, so that's not a problem for me. Now down here, before we go on, I should mention this ext is an extension class I made to save the list of moves, and that's just so I can access it anywhere in any code, because it's a static, so I can access it anywhere. It's constant. It's easy to add moves from any class. So anytime you see ext.set moves or get moves, just know that that's the list of moves that the player knows. So here I'm looping through the list of moves that the player knows and setting each button accordingly. For example, if you knew melee, magic, and heal, these buttons over here would say melee, magic, and heal. If you knew a fourth spell, for example, fire, this button would say fire. And the way I do this is, you see these buttons, they're numbered from 0 to 8, and that's the name of the button. So when I'm looping through in this for loop from 0 to the size of the moves list, I just GameObject.find the X value. So at first it's 0, right? So I go to the 0 button, which is this button right here, and I will set the name of that button to extension.getMoves, the 0th index. Now down here, since there's 9 buttons, this is just making sure that on start, you don't see these buttons at first. Where'd it go? Yeah, you don't see these buttons at first. If I try to show you, you'll see that I press attack and then these show up. These don't show up immediately. So, and that's also what this show method does. That's the on click for my initial attack button. I'll just get this out of the way now. You can see it right here. So once I have all the moves, I have the buttons, the right number of buttons, and the right moves on each button, we'll go into update. The fight will begin. If it's not the player's turn, and it's the enemy's turn, I guess this is redundant. I guess it's usually, if this is true, this is also true, but whatever. And then if the enemy is still alive, right, the HP is greater than 0, then I start a coroutine called enemy turn. And the reason this is a code routine is I wanted to wait for 1 second in between the attacks so that I can have an animation or something. Otherwise, it'll just look bland. It'll just be back and forth, the HP just going down. So I don't have animations right now, but I plan to, and eventually this will be useful. So this is just a check. If your HP is less than 0, or if the enemy's HP is less than 0, obviously the battle's over and we will go back to the main game screen. I will have more detailed win and lose conditions later, but for now, this is just a test, so this is fine as it is. The last method I have is attack. So based on what button you press, I will check the name of that button. So if you click the button that says melee, it will subtract 20 from the enemy's current health. If you clicked fire, I made fire do more than melee just because fire is cooler, it'll subtract 25. Now we have water here, it'll subtract 15, and if your health is less than 100, if it's not full, you will also heal health. And then last but not least, we have heal here, which just heals health. But I guess since water heals 15 and it does damage, I guess heal should be better and heal 25. That probably would make more sense. And then lastly, it's the enemy's turn now, so you set these to false and true respectively. You set all your buttons to false, right? This is just looping through the buttons and setting them to false, and you set the panel to false. And that is my battle code.